Hello, Internet. Welcome to Renegades React. We're going to be watching some game theory. Yeah, I can't. I'm not Matt Pat. I can't do that. But I hope Matt enjoys my attempt at
Has he seen our channel?
I think so. I think. Well, we haven't done game theory as much as we should have because it's just been because we have a lot to do in terms of just I mean all the epic rap battles and also all of the just all the other series that we are having to keep up with. Now that ERB's calmed down, we're getting back into this. We finished up Five Nights at Freddy's, all the questions answered, mystery solved. We finally finished up part 2 of that, and when we saw at the end of that, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 was being released, much to Matt Pat's dismay. And, well, I figured we'd get a jump on this right now.
Sure.
And watch some where Five Nights at Freddy's 4 got it all wrong by game theory.
I would like to know how much sleep he loses over these things because the amount of research is just tremendous.
Oh, I know.
I mean, like, he has to be...
It's him and, like, three other people who run the channel, I think.
That's awesome.
But he's the primary because he started it.
Yeah, kudos to those guys, man. That's tremendous.
Yeah, tremendous. Hard work. Hard work pays off.
Not sure if some of them might be aliens.
Maybe.
Or robots.
Maybe. Well, if robots, I wouldn't really mind as long as they're not cybernetic organisms. All right, so...
John Connor, come with me if you want to live.
All right, so we got this queued up here. Let's give it a watch.
All right.
Sorry, Scott Cawthon. I'm tired of waiting for you. This time you'll have to keep up with me. Oh, never mind.
That's Scott every time he trolls people with the release date. He's like, it'll be released on Halloween. Surprise! It's tomorrow.
Honestly, I think this is probably one of the best intros on the internet.
I'd have to agree 100%.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, where instead of waiting for FNAF 4 to be released, this time we're getting out ahead of the game. Or at least that was the plan. Scott, I swear, you are the biggest internet troll out there.
He is.
It's being released October 31st. Okay, let me plan my entire schedule around that. Never mind, it's now in August. Okay, fine, let me rework everything. Lols, here's the full version now. You, Scott Cawthon, are the reason I have an emotional dependence on Diet Coke. But today I'll be sipping that sweet, sweet Diet Coke in sweet, sweet victory. Because guess what? I win! Scott, in your rush to get the game out, to get out ahead of my theories and completely flim-flam the internet and shock everyone by releasing the game 3 months early, you missed a huge detail. Maybe before releasing the game, you should have spent a bit more time researching, because this game, as you've presented it, is impossible. Let me explain. Basically, it's all but confirmed at this point that in FNAF 4 you play as the victim of the bite of 87, and that this game is either his nightmare or what he's seeing in a coma as he recovers from his injuries. Let me run you through the evidence real quick so that we're all on the same page. First, in the months leading up to the release of the game, there were clues hidden in the source code for some of the teasers on Scott's website, with the numbers 8787 repeated over and over again. 2 numbers that anyone who hasn't been living under a rock will recognize as a key date in the franchise's lore.
Yeah.
The bite of 87. This is further supported by the text on the teaser images. All of the pictures released on the site basically ask the same question. Was it me? Which seems to refer to the actual attacker of the bite itself. But there was one more word we saw repeated throughout the teasers. Nightmare. Hidden over top of multiple teaser images was that exact word. That, combined with the Freddy Krueger-ish design of the animatronics, with teeth and claws everywhere, something far different from how we've seen these things designed in the past, seemed to indicate that this would be the way a child would imagine these creatures if he had had a traumatic experience with them, making it seem like what we would be playing would be a dream. Couple that with some evidence from the trailer. The first words are, "What is it you think you see?" making us question the reality of the images in the game. But there was also something that everyone seemed to overlook about this trailer. The appearance of the number 4. Scott doesn't do things randomly, as I'm sure we're all aware by now. And notice the movement of the 4. It starts off in a horizontal plane, like it was laying down on something, say a bed, but then wakes up to stand vertically before the trailer ends. Even that remnant red rectangle is meant to symbolize the bed. Everything seems to be letting us know that what we're seeing isn't really real, it's a dream, or better yet, a nightmare.
Little Nemo.
Now, fast forward to the game's release, or I suppose casually meander to the game's release since it wasn't too long afterwards, and we see that this theory still holds. Flowers, an IV, and pills will occasionally show up next to your bed. Classical medical supplies that show us that this is a child in recovery. Foxy, who's hiding in a closet, will transform back to a plush toy if you hold the door closed on him long enough, making it seem like this was all a dream or hallucination. And of course, the biggest piece of evidence of all, the cutscene that ends night 5, which, if you don't want a spoiler, click here to skip. All of you skip now? Good.
Oh, go ahead, spoil it.
Okay.
Actually shows the bite of 87 take place
Oh,
in
gosh.
the mouth of the golden Fredbear. This is further supported by the quote-unquote boss of the game being that same golden Fredbear, where in the final nights, he's the one who ends up stalking you. All the other animatronics disappear. You're being haunted by the suit that bit you. So yeah, that's it. All the evidence points to the victim of 87.
So those kids
being
at
our
the party, like,
protagonist.
grabbed
The
him and,
character
like,
we're
It
playing
was
as
his
in
older
FNAF
brother.
4.
It was his
Good
older
job,
brother and his
Scott.
friends.
You finally put together a
messed up.
game with a coherent plot line.
That's messed up.
Except you didn't. Scott Cawthon, if all of us are right in our theory, then you, sir, are wrong. Just when it looked like you were making a game that actually adhered to its own lore, you also made a game that is completely impossible from a scientific perspective. Loyal theorists, it's time we give Scott's latest bag of tricks a little lesson in real-life science. While frontal lobe injuries aren't as uncommon as people think, actually they happen all the time in car accidents, playing football, falling down, etc., having your whole frontal lobe bitten off has a much more profound impact on mental and physical functions. It would come with a whole slew of symptoms from motor skill impairment to nervous system issues, but the side effects we're most concerned with today would all be psychological. Removal of the frontal lobe significantly impacts the victim's ability to process certain types of stimuli, specifically fear stimuli. Let me give you some backstory. In the good old 1940s and 50s, psychiatrists often thought the best way to cure problems with the brain were to cut pieces out. Feeling depressed? Well, let's slice that out. Overly aggressive? That chunk probably wasn't important. As such, there are extremely well-documented studies of patients without frontal lobes, and what's fascinating about them was what happened to their fear response. Patients without a frontal lobe become uninhibited because they no longer have a fear response. Way back in my Fallout episode, we looked in depth at the most famous accidental lobotomy in history, Phineas Gage, who literally had an iron rod shot straight through his head, completely destroying his left frontal lobe. One of the most striking differences between pre-pole Phineas and post-pole Phineas was his sense of inhibition. And by that I mean post-pole Phineas had none. He had no sense of caution, no sense of fear or self-consciousness. He was described to be impulsive to the point of being rude and vulgar in public. No fear, no anxiety, no social pressure anywhere. Going back to the game, one of the things Scott does a great job of throughout the FNAF franchise is putting you in the eyes of Mike or Jeremy or whoever. We feel invested in our protagonist because we are that character. But in this case, that's scientifically impossible, specifically because of the bite of 87. If the main character of this game truly is little Timmy Lost a Lobe, he wouldn't wander around a house clicking a flashlight on and off. Why would he? He doesn't care, because tragically, he no longer has the capacity to care. His brain structure no longer allows it. As if this weren't enough, a frontal lobe injury also tampers with concentration and attention span. The main character in the game is still supposed to be concentrated over a long period of multiple hours. But the thing is, patients without frontal lobes don't have this ability. In fact, they can only stay focused on what they see immediately happening in front of them. A child missing a frontal lobe who repeatedly turned a flashlight on and off in a hallway without seeing anything would lose interest. They wouldn't have the mental wiring necessary to concentrate on self-preservation. They would literally just go back to bed. The game is impossible the way it's being presented, because it would literally be over before it began. But the final and biggest nail in the coffin for this one is how frontal lobe injuries affect the imagination. The frontal lobe controls a ton of mental processing abilities, including dreams. You might think that an uncontrollable imagination would lead to exactly the kind of nightmares or hallucinations you see in this game, but in fact, it's the exact opposite. Rigorous studies have been done on the imaginations and dream states of lobotomized patients. While patients without a frontal lobe can have dreams, one thing they can't have is nightmares. Patients missing a frontal lobe carry their lack of fear and inhibition straight into their dreams. And why not? It makes sense. If the mind isn't registering fear consciously, there's no reason to process it subconsciously in a dream. Studies show that lobotomized patients can dream about idyllic scenarios, money, fame, praise, but they can't dream about the monsters under the bed, or in this case, the Foxy in the closet, making the nightmare state of FNAF 4 impossible for the victim of the bite of 87. In fact, going back to the dark days of psychiatry, some patients who experience the kind of recurring nightmare we see in FNAF 4 actually had their frontal lobes intentionally removed to stop these dreams from happening. One famous case describes a patient who was experiencing a recurring dream of being chased by ferocious animals. After the patient received the lobotomy in 1953, yes, he still had the dream, but would instead describe it as being a nice dream with some nice animals. His visions in the dream were no longer threatening. The animals were happy, he was happy, and he was no longer able to perceive any of the fear he once had prior to the surgery. So scientifically speaking, there is no single way the main character of FNAF 4 can be the bite of 87 victim like Scott seems to have indicated. Sure, the game could be about another kid, I guess, but that would be lame. No, this game is meant to be about the victim of the bite of 87. The poor kid who wasn't just attacked at the restaurant, but continues to be tortured through nightmarish visions, dreams, coma-induced hallucinations, whatever. I have zero doubt that that's what Scott intended, but the fact of the matter is, he just didn't do enough homework. A kid with those sorts of injuries wouldn't care about those things in the first place. He would have no fear, and there would be no animatronics, real or imaginary, that would be able to keep him up at night. Biologically speaking, nothing he would be experiencing would be any scarier than the fan. The fan. Sorry, Scott. Better luck in the movie. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. So that's the science of FNAF 4, but I'm working on picking apart the lore now. It'll take a few weeks, so make sure you subscribe to get notified of when that comes out. And to help you wait, click here to check out my all-new theory on how the characters in Dragon Ball Z pull off their famous Kamehameha waves. The science behind it all is actually incredibly cool.
Okay, here's my thing. You said that the brother and his friends picked him up and held him in the mouth that bit.
Yeah, they pretty much... he was afraid of the animatronics to begin with.
Sure. So could the protagonist of FNAF 4, could that be the older brother after he... Because if he thought it was a stupid joke and then his little brother was messed up after it, like...
Well...
He could have some serious psychological issues. So maybe now he sees these creatures all the time in his dreams after what he did to his brother.
I could see that. I could see that.
Because
plus another thing too, the way the boys' rooms are shaped and everything is completely different. Because the little brother's room, let me see if I can.
Because even if he did screw up,
right here, that's the little brother's room.
Yeah.
You notice something that's awfully strange? That there's no closet.
Right.
There's no two doors leading into the room, and the bed and the bed placement, everything is wrong. It may very well be the older brother's room upstairs. Problem that that may hold some water, but at the same time they may have moved the little brother up there.
Sure.
It could be anything, dude. It really could be.
Because even if he did screw up and he meant it to be the actual bite victim, I mean, it's pretty easy to work around and just say that was his brother or something. I mean,
it was his brother. It could be his brother. I mean, it's wait a second.
But I feel like it as intense as he's been at making these games and how much stuff he's hidden in it. I feel like he wouldn't make a an error like that.
I could say that as well. But there's other videos that have been released, where he got the detail that we missed. It's like what was missed.
Sure.
Yeah, and we'll get to that one later.
Right.
But yeah, right.
And two, what did they state that there was like a severe frontal lobe injury? Is that?
Well, they
I can't
said a
remember.
severe frontal lobe injury. They didn't say that it was completely damaged.
Right.
They didn't say that it was destroyed
Removed
or
or destroyed.
was detached. They just said that it was an injury. You see, frontal lobe injuries
Because
can
really,
be anything.
a concussion counts as a frontal lobe injury.
Yeah, and people who have suffered concussions have reported a heightened sense of nightmare, depending on the place where the injury is. The concussion is. They have reported that a higher sense of dreaming. Like a more intense, like a more pleasurable dream or a more horrid nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, they've reported that. That may very well be what this is. The pressure from it, caused a collapse of his skull cavity, of his brain cavity, and it's causing pressure, caused immense pressure on there, and caused the brain to strain really badly. And instead of having a lobotomy that completely removes the brain, that part of the brain, it could be.
Yeah. Because in '87 lobotomies weren't prevalent. I mean that.
No, because back then, even then, modern medicine was still pretty high in terms of where we were about 30 years before that to now.
Sure.
I mean, it's scary how quickly the medical field jumped.
Right.
In
Well,
the span
and
of 50,
and the
50,
thing
60
is,
years.
like all the research we do now, like any surgery they do today, they were already doing that surgery on like dogs 20 years ago.
Yeah,
So
it's just like the open heart surgery. The blue baby heart surgery that helps babies that are born with low ventricle.
That surgery's been around a little longer than you actually think.
Yeah, and they did it on dogs. They did it on it to test every single variable. Like what happens if the patient suddenly grows an immense amount in a short amount of time and knocks the stitches loose, because they figured that out. You see, Alfred Blaylock and Vivian I forget his. I'm going to kick myself for not remembering it.
Okay.
Blaylock and I think Vivian Campbell. They should have called him Dr. Vivian Campbell, even though he was denied his medical degree because of his financial reasoning. He was a black man, and he was denied the right to go to college because he saved up all this money, and then his bank failed and said, "Oh, all your money's gone." And he went to work under a brilliant cardiac surgeon, Alfred Blaylock, and Blaylock wanted to cure blue babies, and thus, with Vivian's help, he designed the tools like the Campbell clamp. The clamp that has it's on the slider rail, and it's got the rubberized end, and it cinches together to prevent blood loss and everything. And then there's the bulldog. He helped a new variation of the bulldog clamp, the new sewing pattern that you use to pretty much do the bypass and everything. He helped figure all that out. You see, the medical field has made a massive jump with new every time. Every turn of the page, new technologies are available, newer and better things are available.
But I mean,
and
basically, in '87, lobotomies weren't prevalent.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily know that this was a severely damaged or removed frontal lobe.
No,
it could have just been a concussion, which would lead to symptoms like this.
Well, the bite of '87, they never said that that part of the brain was removed. I haven't heard that in terms of the game or anything, or for what I can remember from the game theory.
Because I mean, it's probably animatronics. It probably operate on like maybe hydraulics, so maybe it created pressure. Well, there was some brain swelling or something, but
probably. I mean, you never know, man. I mean, there's so many details that you can dissect with this. That's
so
the beauty
I feel
of these
like
games.
I don't know. I mean, I like the points he made, but I'm not completely convinced that we have all the necessary information to say whether. And plus, even if he did just mess up, it's easy to get around. Just say it's the older brother. I mean,
Yeah. Well, yeah, and plus, if he admits to overlooking something, that's all right.
Sure.
But he's admitting we're all human beings. Yeah. Nobody's going to get it perfect their first time.
And honestly, he's a game designer. He's not a doctor.
No. And I mean, honestly, Scott Cawthon, I love Scott Cawthon because he was about 2 seconds away from quitting the video game industry altogether, and then all of a sudden he did Five Nights at Freddy's, which a lot of people are sick of Five Nights at Freddy's. Me, I still find the lore interesting. It's just Scott. I think what he needs to do is take a break from it in certain regards. Let the people sift through the lore of this and dissect it their own way, and then what he needs to do is come back with maybe the true final game, and have it just pretty much throw everything out there and pretty much confirm either this theory or that theory, or do something pull a Shyamalan, well, not a modern day Shyamalan, pull like a Sixth Sense Shyamalan, and just throw everything. It's just like, oh my gosh, so that's what it all means.
Bruce Willis was dead the whole time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that twist.
Which if you go back and rewatch the movie, you're like, man,
ruined.
they tell you, they throw it all out there. They give you every opportunity.
Yeah, they like how his wife never notices him. How he interacts with everyone else outside of Haley Joel Osment. I mean, it's crazy that you never notice things like that, and then boom, it's just right in front. It's right in front of you, and then the pieces are put together for you, and you feel stupid that you couldn't put it together before.
I mean, I feel like as dedicated as he is to creating really in-depth lore, I mean, he could pull off something really cool like that.
Yeah, maybe he could.
I mean, he really already has pulled off some crazy stuff. I mean,
yeah.
Because who knows how many hours that Matt Pat and all his guys have spent on this? I mean,
how many Let's Players have dedicated their time?
Because this has to be
game.
like one of their most loved and most hated series.
Oh, dude, I guarantee you by now, Matt's just ready to throw the computer against the wall. If Scott, because the thing about it is, Scott did a thing where he released a DLC for Five Nights 4, and everyone was like, because at the end of the game, there's a box that appears, and on the box are 2 locks, and it shows like the box jostling and everything, like trying to get the box open, and it's just like some things are better left undisturbed. And it's just like, oh, come on. And even when they did that, even when they did the Halloween one, it was just like, dang it. Come on, man. But where Scott's going to go from here, I think he's going to start concentrating on the movie, because the movie, from where it stands and everything, I'm interested to see what they're going to do with everything. What story they're going to tell. Or is it going to tie into the games, or is it going to tell its own independent story? That, you see, I love modern day media. I love it in that regard. I hate traditional Hollywood. And, their whole stickler to the traditional shit and everything. And plus the reprocessed crap that Michael Bay and all these other filmmakers put out. And then eventually, like a good piece of work comes through. It's just like, I thought Edge of Tomorrow was just going to be another sellout. It turns into probably one of my favorite films of that year. I mean, have you seen Edge of Tomorrow? Watch it, dude. It is. I mean, honestly, Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Yeah. I was just like, oh gosh, this is gonna be a silly, stupid action movie. And then it's actually based off a Japanese manga. I did not realize that when I first watched it.
It looked really cool.
Oh, it is, dude. Because I'm not gonna give away what happens in the movie or anything like that. But the way the story unfolds and everything, it's mind-boggling.
Actually, I think I saw the beginning of it, because he starts out, he's like the major, and he's like the propaganda guy, and then they're like, we're going to send you to the front lines. He's like, no, I don't do that. He's like, I'm the TV man, and
it's like, I joined ROTC just to.
Yeah, so the setup was interesting. I think I was watching. I was house sitting, and I started watching. I had to like go to work or something, because I
was gonna say, seeing Brendan Gleeson playing an American general is weird, because it's just like, I'm so used to seeing him in Bruges. He's like, 2 monkey hookers and a racist dwarf. I think I'm done for tonight. I'm so used to that, but seeing him as an American general was weird. But I still loved it. Another good action movie that came out, Sicario, with Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, and Josh Brolin, also a really good one. And that, you see, media, I think media like this, I think it's it crosses over into film, and I think it will complement this in a way that will enrich both of them.
Yeah, this has the potential to be just an absolutely terrifying and unnerving horror movie. But also there's so much depth to it that I think that a lot of people can enjoy it. I mean, not just for jump scares.
I think that kids are really into it because of because the big plushy toys and the animatronics.
I do feel like maybe if they do it, I would like to see not make it like action horror, but I hope there's some intense scenes where he's like holed up in a room if it's like the security guard. But I would want some like sprinting through the hallways with the thing behind you, like classic like run away from the scary thing.
Yeah, well. The master of suspense, Hitchcock.
Mm-hmm.
Hitchcock had a way of filming things and a way of doing things that when they were filming it, it did not make sense why they did the way they did. It's just like from probably my favorite Hitchcock film, Rear Window. Raymond Burr. It's the end of the film. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there's a scene. It's one of the most intense scenes. Raymond Burr is coming into this apartment building. And you don't see him come into the building, but you know he's coming, and because of what's happened previously. And Jeffrey's the main character. He's staring at his door, and he sees like the lights in the hallway. And very slowly, you start to see the lights. The lights go out. It's like it gets dimmer, and then it's pitch black. And then Raymond Burr enters the. It's just like holy crap! At first, Raymond Burr's just like, why are you having me unscrew the light bulbs and everything? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, they can't see me doing it. Mm-hmm. And Hitchcock never gave away why. It's because what you do not see provides you with the greatest fear. Because the fear of the unknown outweighs any logical fear. I mean, honestly, our fear of the unknown far outweighs like our fear of snakes, our fear of drowning, our fear of burning to death. Because unknown, I mean, what happens when you get submerged in water without air. You drown. It's the fear of greater suffering. Because to me, the worst death I can think of is burning alive. Because every nerve is dying, every patch of skin is boiling, and
yeah, I can get behind that. Your hair and your fingernails go first; they melt, and I've got a lot of hair, so that would be pretty tremendously bad.
Oh gosh, I could see like a metal music video. Your hair's like draped over you, and it's like, and you get like a mask of your like a melted mask of your hair. It's like okay. I can see Nathan explode.
No, burnt hair is the worst. The
smell.
Yeah, it's bad.
The smell. I've singed my hair bad one time. It was an oven fire.
I won't discuss this. I've singed my hair, my eyebrows, and my eyelashes. That is terrible if you've ever burned your eyelashes because they're like little Velcro hooks, and every time you blink, they're like catching each other.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I did that to my eyebrows really bad. I didn't get my eyelashes. Got my the oven fire got me because I was down there, and all of a sudden I come back up, and the flame just goes and just catches the front of my hair right here. It's like I looked like this. It was like my hair got blown back to here, and my eyebrows, like the top of my eyebrows, were just gone.
Yep.
And it was like, what happened?
Yep.
Crap.
Like my eyes are watering just thinking about it.
Yeah, it hurts. Gosh. So we got a little off topic there, but hey, that's part of the game. That was Game Theory, Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Got it all wrong. Now,
did he?
Did he? But did he? I mean, there's still a lot to dissect. I mean, given 4 games, the lore that's in it. I mean, people are still discovering stuff from Five Nights at Freddy's 3 and Five Nights at Freddy's 2. They're still discovering stuff and still, seeing parts of the lore and everything. Because you see the layers that Scott puts into the game. It's just amazing. So we'll have to see if this holds up. Because this is a theory that I think is probably one of the weakest. I mean, because there's a lot to dissect. I mean, and it may have been. I mean, Matt Pat may have jumped the gun.
Well, I think he probably he probably did it on purpose with the release date to jump the gun because I'm sure he's seen a lot of Matt Pat's videos.
Probably.
So maybe he's just flipping him the bird and like, hey, I'll release it right now. Good luck, everybody else.
Scott's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Scott. The thing about Scott is he loves messing with people.
Yeah,
but
well, that's the thing.
time,
It's just, I mean, even it's good fun because I'm sure he loves the show, but he
well,
probably wanted to mess with him too.
Well, he also loves his fans. He also gives back to the fans. Like a lot of the money that he's got from these games, he's donated back to a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
and And that's beautiful because how much money do you really need in life? I mean, honestly, I know a lot of greedy pigs out there will say more. That's just their answer, more. But Scott, he's made it obvious that money's not the object to him. It's to him having fun, and that's what it should be about. That's how it should be. All right, we've gone on enough. This has been quite the rant and the rambling. So I think we're going to end it here. We hope you all have enjoyed this look at the game theory. And also, if there's other stuff you want us to watch, we will continue watching these. Make no mistake, we love this series, and we'll come back to it. But let us know what you want us to watch in the comments down below. Leave a like if you like the video. Also, check the description for all of our various other endeavors and for the link to this original video. So, once again, we will see you later, Internet. Peace out.